Hello everybody and welcome to Out of the Gate, Daily Racing Form's weekend handicapping preview program. I'm Dan Illman. Here's what's on tap this week on Out of the Gate. This week's Out of the Gate is presented by Turfway Park, and Turfway Park's signature race of the meet is the Grade 3 $500,000 Spiral Stakes, basically a win and you're in for the Kentucky Derby because it offers 50 Kentucky Derby qualifying points to the winner. Mike Beer, Matt Bernier, and I will discuss the Spiral Stakes. We'll also discuss our top 5 for the Kentucky Derby in our Hot Topic segment. Two other major 3-year-old races that we'll handicap and discuss: the UAE Derby on the Dubai World Cup undercard, and Sunday's Drf Calm Formulator Race of the Day, the Sunland Derby. We'll also, of course, talk about the Dubai World Cup and Superhorse Arrogate. Michael Hogan will join us with his Formulator Hero concerning the Bourbonnais Oaks, the 3-year-old filly counterpart to the Spiral Stakes. Jonathan Kinchin will discuss his late pick 4 plays for the Dubai World Cup, and Nicole Russo's pedigree picks, very important this week because the Spiral Stakes is on a poly-track surface. Let's get started. Kentucky Derby top 5. These guys had to change their top 5s dramatically from last week because American Anthem bombed. Matt, who's replacing him?
Well, I don't really know, to be honest with you. At this point, Mike talked about it a little bit last week, that the 3-year-olds, he's starting to lose a little bit of faith. I'm losing faith Derby-wise. I still think they're good, but I don't know who is better than who at this point. I have Gunnevera now number 1, kind of by default. I don't really love him as far as, is he a true Derby contender? Is he a superstar? Maybe not, but he's just honest. McCracken, if he gets his act together and he can get back in the bluegrass, I have him second. Epicaris, we'll talk about him in the UAE Derby. Tappert, I don't love him. But I'm at the point now, really, for me, this Derby top 5 list comes down to number 5. Guess what? I'm at the point now where let me just start throwing in random horses because I know Guess Sweet's going to be able to run all day. He may not be all that fast right now, but he hasn't taken a step back. He continues to move forward. And I have to be honest, I'm kind of getting concerned about all these horses as far as 1.25 miles is concerned.
Mike, American Anthem was number 2 on your list last week. Like Matt, you're a tough judge. One bad race and he's gone. Isn't it conceivable that he could come back in a race like the Santa Anita Derby, a race without a clear-cut favorite, and get right back on the trail?
Yeah, of course, it's always possible. He's a Baffert 3-year-old too, but he was just one of those horses. He was so lightly raced with only 2 starts. I don't know how much time he actually really has to bounce back and then show up and be a real player in the Derby. Maybe he can do it, but I wanted to see more from him last Saturday. And it's not just that he ran so poorly, it's that race was just, to me, that race was just terrible. I don't want any horses out of that race. As far as my list this week goes, I got the 3 undefeated colts right now, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th on my list. Look who's number 1 there, Illman, Motown. Am I giving this horse, do I have a leg to stand on with Motown? I liked this horse as a 2-year-old. I don't buy that, Remsen as a negative key race idea that's been floated out there. I don't care about what horses have done out of that race. I liked his performance. Then he came back off the layoff. He wasn't great in the Risen Star, but I don't know, off a layoff, chasing a fast pace. He got really tired in the stretch. Fine. He gets 1 more from me. He shows up in the wood for his next start.
And we know Motown has run very, very well in New York. Sure, he deserves a mulligan, but if he deserves a mulligan, why not American Anthem, Matt?
Kind of for all the reasons Mike laid out. I mean, we're at a tough point now to be trying to make up ground. At least Motown had a lot of foundation. American Anthem was a 2-year-old and he only raced 1 time. He's got 3 starts overall. He was a disaster down at Oakland, and I agree with everything Mike said. The Rebel for me was just tremendously underwhelming. It's hard for me to give a mulligan in a race that I just overall think was kind of poor.
I'm sticking with Epicaris as my top horse in my Kentucky Derby top 5. We'll talk a lot more about him later on in the program when we analyze the UAE Derby, when he faces real competition for the first time. But the horse we have to talk about is the 2-year-old champion Classic Empire. Heck, he was the winner book favorite for the Kentucky Derby. And then he got beaten his 3-year-old debut, and then he had a little foot problem, and he's refused to train now twice. Matt, what do we do with this horse?
When he's right, he can run a race already that's fast enough to beat many of these horses. He did it as a 2-year-old. The problem is, similar to what we were talking about a little bit with American Anthem, he's so far behind the 8 ball right now. He's raced once. That was a terrible race. He refuses to work out. Now it seems like he's okay and he's in Ocala, but guess what? At some point you're going to have to move. He's going to have to run really, really well in the bluegrass for me to buy into him as a legitimate Derby threat. But we know on his best day, he can certainly hang with the best.
Mike, has he simply lost too much time with all of these various problems? Or is this the kind of year where chaos has reigned thus far and all he has to do is get back to his good form and he's the best one of the group?
Yeah, I would sort of take that position with him. I obviously don't love the way his three-year-old campaign has gone up to this point. But he does have a pretty good foundation underneath him. He was a very good 2-year-old. I left him number 5 on my list. I want to see him get back into training and then show up and run a good race in the bluegrass. But the way this 3-year-old crop is starting to pan out here, week after week, the preps come up. Nobody does anything to sort of catch my eye. All this horse has to do is show up in the bluegrass and run his race, and he's right back in the thick of it.
I won't be surprised if our top 5 lists maybe go a little bit topsy-turvy next week, because we have 3 Kentucky Derby qualifying point races to discuss this week. And the first of them is the Spiral, presented by Turfway Park. Our first stakes preview this week on Out of the Gate is the Grade 3 $500,000 Spiral Stakes from Turfway Park. It offers 50 Kentucky Derby qualifying points to the winner. Mike Beer, the morning line favorite, is the number 8 Kitten's Cat. You're interested in this race, however, with a horse that chased Kitten's Cat last time out, a horse that you're a big fan of.
Yeah, Giant Payday for Ian Wilkes will be the horse that I want to play in this race. We'll see what happens. He's never run on synthetic before, so he has that question to answer, but so does just about everybody else in this field, including the morning line favorite. I like this horse's race. I like all of his races. It gives me a little bit of hope that he'll handle synthetic, because he's run really well on turf. He's run well on dirt as well, so I'm not so sure that he's a surface-specific kind of horse. I thought he ran fine in the Palm Beach last time. He was a big price. He was never going to win, but he ran fine, beating about 3 lengths in that race, running on to the finish in there. I feel like there's enough pace in this race to set him up, and I'm hoping he comes with a run late.
This horse kicked like a mule in his first few starts on turf, and we've seen turf form successfully transfer to the main track, or at least the poly track at Turfway Park. Matt, that's kind of where we're going in here with our top selection. We agree. Tell the folks about the lightly raced Parlor.
Yeah, you and I kind of look at this race the same way. Parlor's only started 3 times for Eddie Keneally. This is going to be his second start as a 3-year-old, and so far he's just looked really, really strong in all 3 of his turf starts. He had a little bit of issue in that sort of finale for his 2-year-old campaign down at Kentucky Downs, but he still ran on very well. When you consider Kentucky Downs, that turf course, all meet favored speed, the fact that he came from the back and he had a little bit of an issue going into the far turn, I think that race was even more impressive than it looks on paper. And I mean, look, you and I talked about it in the stakes preview. The way that he won that race at Tampa, he didn't beat anything, but he beat that field like a good horse is supposed to. I think there's a lot left in the tank.
5-1 on the morning line for Parlor. He's my top selection as well. Doesn't get out of the gate, as Matt mentioned. This horse is going to have to get out of there. I don't think he can spot this field 12, 13 lengths. I think there'll be a fair pace, but I don't think it'll be exactly blistering. I'm hoping, though, that Parlor, again, so lightly raced, that he has yet another step forward, and I'm hoping his good grass form successfully translates to the main track. Matt, let's talk a little bit about King and his court. A little bit of an experiment last time out. It didn't work out.
No, it didn't. They ran him in the Sam F. Davis. This is a Mark Casse trainee, and okay, he was just kind of threw out in the back of the field. His 2 races last year to round out his 2-year-old campaign up at Woodbine, I thought both of them were very, very strong. I think this is a horse that getting back to the synthetic surface is going to do him wonders. And you actually kind of have built in, as far as the connections are concerned, if he runs well here and gets the points needed, why not take a shot in the Derby in a year like this? Okay, he ran poorly in his 1 dirt start. At the end of the day, you know what their long-term goal is. He's an Ontario bred. They've got the race up at Woodbine, the Queen's Plate, all circled up. I think that's what their long-term goal is. But right now, I don't blame him at all for taking a shot, and I think he's got a big chance.
Mike, what's the knock on the morning line favorite, Kitten's Cat? There are no graded stakes winners entered in this year's Spiral. He's the most accomplished horse in the race. Yeah. He's a multiple stakes winner.
Yeah, I don't have any real problem with anybody who likes his horse. He's just not going to be a great price. I would never bet him at a short price, and I would be at least a little concerned with the 9 furlongs for him. I'm not sure how far this horse really wants to go. He seems like a logical player in this race, just one that I wouldn't be any interested at all in betting on. If I was looking for a price horse, I'd look for a horse like the 5 Colonel Sampson, who handles synthetic. His race 2 back was fine. He had an impossible trip in the El Camino Real Derby.
We will try to beat the morning line favorite in our DRF.com Formulator Race of the Day. Remember to get expanded stakes previews. We talk about every horse from the A to the Z on video.drf.com, and you can download those free Formulator past performances on the Race of the Day event page on drf.com. Now time for Hogan's Formulator Hero. He's got a price play in the Bourbonette Oaks at Turfway.
Hello and welcome to Hogan's Formulator Hero. You just heard about the Spiral Stakes. It's the DRF Formulator Race of the Day. So go ahead and go to the Race of the Day page, grab your FPPs for that one. I'm going to be talking about the Bourbonette Oaks, which is the race before the Spiral. Maybe we can get a nice daily double or play some horses together in the multi-race wagers. Let's take a look at Formulator. The Bourbonnais Oaks is the 9th race at Turfway Park on Saturday, and we're going to use Formulator to look at a couple different horses that, one of which we're going to play against and one of which we will be interested in playing. The play against is number 6, Delphinia, for Wesley Ward, coming off of an impressive win, sprinting last out, and earning an 87 Beyer, which is the best of her career and the best of any of the fillies in this race. The thing that I notice is this is the first time Delphinia will be trying a route of ground, and I look at Wesley Ward's numbers with those horses in the last 5 years. They're not very good. You click on Wesley Ward, it brings up the trainer stats. You click modify filters, and under ranges, if we look first time routing for Wesley Ward, it drops from, this is a trainer who normally wins above 20% win rate. It drops down to 13% win rate. The ROI goes way down under $1, and you're in the money percentages only less than 40%. If we add in stakes races, I'm not going to do graded stakes or stakes, but let's just say if the purse is higher than $75,000 on up to, say, $10 million, that will be all of the stakes races as well as some high-priced allowance and maiden special weight races. You click on that, you see just 1 for 45, only 29% in the money, but look at the prices. These are horses that are getting bet heavily and finishing nowhere near the winner's circle. That's a horse that I want to play against. Let's go back to the PPs and look at number 4, On Her Honor. This is a filly who in her last couple starts hasn't quite gotten it done, but the impressive win 3 back at Turfway Park on the surface at the distance. We're going to add notes. I've got a couple notes for her. She won easily. She didn't change leads. She was a bit green in the stretch. She then ran a very nice second to a horse. If you click on the chart for this Ocala Training Center race, you'll see the standard chart view. I'm going to change it to the next race view. You'll see the winner came back and ran a nice fourth 80 Beyer in the effort. You click on her PPs. This Beyer figure kind of stands out as maybe being perhaps a little low. Ocala is a very hard place to do trainer or to do Beyer figures for. I'm thinking maybe On Her Honor is a little bit better than what the effort suggests and might be a player at 20-1 on the morning line. Thanks for watching Hogan's Formulator Hero on Out of the Gate. We'll be back right after this.
Ladies and gentlemen of Cincinnati, clear your dance cards, because this is an invitation from Jack. Jack says the best business to get into is monkey business. Jack says once in a lifetime can happen every night. Damn the torpedoes and tomorrow morning. Prepare to live it up, live it loud, and relive it all over late night chilly three-way, because Cincinnati, this is really happening.
You asked, we listened. DRF Plus has more flexible subscription options. Use DRF Plus Basic for exclusive news and analysis, including our DRF Live real-time news feed. Or go deeper with DRF Pro and unlock buyers, closer looks, picks, and reports, including the DRF Daily Game Plan. DRF TV viewers get 50% off the plan of your choice. Use code DRFTV50 at checkout. Learn more about the DRF Plus subscription plans at drf.com/plus.
Welcome back to Out of the Gate, presented by Turfway Park. We've got a lot of racing to cover this weekend, from Dubai to Sunland Park for the Sunland Derby on Sunday. But all eyes are going to be on the $10 million Dubai World Cup. It's Arrogate, and more Arrogate. He's 1-3 on the morning line, and Matt, I couldn't think of a more deserving odds-on favorite.
No, I mean, he's a special horse at this point, and I think we can all admit that. He's on the verge of taking over California Chrome as far as the all-time North American, leading money earner is concerned if he gets through this race. What else is there to say? This is a horse that he debuted less than a year ago. When you put that into sort of perspective, I think it just goes to show how impressive this horse has been from start to finish. He hasn't done anything wrong. He has this field over a barrel. Someone's going to need to run the race of their life by far, and he's going to need to take a step back. Maybe without the Lasix it happens. I have no interest in picking against him.
With all respect to Winks, the Australian superstar, Arrogate, in my opinion, is the best horse in the world. And Mike, though, Matt brings up a good point. He's going to have to do it without Lasix for the first time, shipping halfway across the world. Is that enough of a reason, considering just the towering class and speed figure edge he has over this field? Is that enough of a reason to say, okay, He can't be just a complete 100% single at 1-3.
No, I don't think it is enough of a reason. We'll see what happens. Obviously, I guess you could worry about it a little bit. The problem with putting too much stock in him not having Lasix for this race and shipping is that there's really no way to quantify it. You don't know if he needs it or not. He is a world-class dirt horse facing a bunch of horses who are not world-class dirt horses, and he relishes every bit of the 10 furlongs in this race, and some of his competition does not. He's almost impossible to beat.
So you're saying lay up, slam dunk, don't worry about it, forget about it. Who's going to run second to Arrogate?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I didn't really have a good feel for any of the sort of Japanese horses or the local horses who are running against Arrogate here. He just seems to me like a horse who's way better than those horses. I like what Gunrunner's done recently. I don't love him going 10 furlongs, but he seems like a horse who, while not in Arrogate's league, he's pretty good in his own right. His last race was also impressive.
Matt, is it going to be a fellow American shipper, an American-based horse to run second to Arrogate? Is it going to be a Neolithic? Is it going to be a Gunrunner? Heck, is Key Nice going to pick up the pieces, or is it going to be your favorite son, Opportunity?
Opportunity will come on at the end. I don't know that I want him in second, though. I kind of look at the Pegasus World Cup and say the form has held up pretty well thus far. Shaman Ghost came back most recently and won the Santa Anita Handicap. Neolithic did most of the dirty work in the Pegasus World Cup. Now the question becomes, does he have to do the dirty work again here in the Dubai World Cup? But at the end of the day, I think he's going to be forwardly placed. This track seems to be favoring speed. I like Neolithic to round out the exacta.
I wonder if Apollo Kentucky is the horse at a gigantic price to make this race somewhat worthwhile from a betting standpoint. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I expect this horse to swamp Arrogate on Saturday in the Dubai World Cup, but he's in sneaky good form in Japan. He's won 2 out of his last 3 races. He runs well fresh. He won at 1.25 miles last time out. He's got a little bit of tactical speed. You got to ride him early. Been some weird things going on with this horse, though. We haven't seen him since that last race. I think he had a little bit of a drug positive where he wasn't disqualified, but the trainer was fined. But stranger things have happened. If Arrogate doesn't show up for whatever reason, maybe Apollo Kentucky from an insanity insurance standpoint, at the very worst, perhaps you can use him to round out your exacta and trifecta. Maybe the Dubai World Cup is more of a spectacle than a betting race. The UAE Derby, maybe we'll find a little bit of value there. $2 million on the line in the UAE Derby, but perhaps more importantly, 100 Kentucky Derby qualifying points to the winner and 50 Kentucky Derby qualifying points to the second place finisher. Perhaps it's a win and you're in, perhaps it's a run second and you're in for the Kentucky Derby. We take a look at this field. Everyone's trying to get into the Kentucky Derby, a gigantic field. I think we have to talk about the morning line favorite in this race, however. That's the number 13, Thunder Snow at 8-5. We're all against Thunder Snow. Matt, why?
I don't really know, to be honest with you. All he's done is gone out and he's run very well on turf. He's run very well on dirt, most recently the UAE 2000 Guineas. He buried that field, and he's got a couple of common foes that come out of that race that'll face him again Saturday afternoon. He's a really nice horse, supremely talented. I think he deserves to be one of the choices in here. I don't know that he deserves to be such a short price right now that we're seeing in some of the overseas markets, as opposed to your son Epicaris, who we'll talk about momentarily. But yeah, he deserves to be one of the favorites.
Visually impressive last time out, Mike, was Thunder Snow, but now he's got to stretch all the way out to 1 mile and 3/16. Does that bother you?
Yeah, that's the big concern that I would have with this horse more than anything else. He was, kept to sprinting as a 2-year-old on the turf last year, and he was certainly a good turf sprinter, but they never stretched him out. And, last time in that Guineas, he looked fine winning, and I wasn't blown away with his performance, but he was much the best that day. A flat mile. Now he's going to stretch out 3/16 here. I don't know. Maybe he can do it. I prefer 2 other colts in this race.
Problem Child won last year's UAE Derby with the Nutty Lonnie. We've got an equally crazy horse in here, and you like him, Matt.
Yeah, Fawry is a horse for Mike DeCock that he's had well-documented problems as far as the starting gate is concerned. He's loaded in with the blanket on, he's loaded in with the hood on, and most recently in his first start as a 3-year-old, he threw a bit of a fit. The blinkers and the hood were taken off a little bit too early, I should say. He popped the gate, basically a non-starter before the thing even got going. Now the question becomes, is he going to behave himself? Because Mike DeCock clearly thinks highly of him. He brought in a horse whisperer from South Africa. I don't know what that means, but apparently now the horse can load without any sort of assistance. And I know what I saw in his second lifetime start when he broke his maiden. If he runs that race, he's arguably the best bred horse in the entire race. If he can run that race, I think he's got a big chance in here.
And you get a price based on that non-existent running line from last time out. You just hope he behaves himself and break, but he's going to be a good price. He is worth the risk. Mike, it's Put up or shut up time finally for Epicaris. He doesn't need the points. He's already qualified for the Kentucky Derby by winning that 2-race Japan road to the Kentucky Derby sequence. I don't know. I like everything this horse has done thus far. 2 wins at 1 1/8. Good tactical speed. He can win from on the lead. He can win from off. What kind of trip is he going to get? Is he this good? He's finally going to face competition.
Yeah, he gets tested here for the first time. We'll see if he's up for it. To me, this horse, I've been won over by this horse, Dan, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about him. I'm going to let you talk about him because this is your horse. But I like all 4 of his races, and I like, to me, he's just getting warmed up at 1 1/8. I think the distance is the big key for him. I will say the one thing I'm worried about with him, not the competition so much. I think he's up for that, for better horses right now. I wonder what's going to happen when he gets into a race with a real pace in front of him, because he's been in some very slow-paced races along the way here. I wonder what's going to happen if he gets outrun early.
His fellow Japanese trained runner Adorato expected to show a little bit of pace in this spot, and he might have to go a lot faster than he did in that Hyacinth Stakes in order to procure the front from the far outside post. That's a very interesting point about Epicaris. Can he stay close to a much faster pace? So far, he's adapted to everything, whether it's inside, outside, on the lead, from off the pace. I'm very excited to see what we get from Epicaris, especially considering that the North American-based 3-year-olds this year, they have trouble backing up races one after the other. Epicaris is a perfect 4-4-4. We also, of course, have the Spiral. Out of the gate this week is presented by Turfway Park, and pedigree could become a very important determining factor in who's going to win this year's Spiral. Good news is we got Nicole Russo for a DRF pedigree pick, and then back to Dubai, Jonathan Kinchin's got the late pick 4 at Meydan.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to Out of the Gate. I'm Nicole Russo coming to you from Lexington, Kentucky, and this weekend we'll be taking the short trip up the highway to Turfway Park, where Kentucky Derby points are on the line in the Grade 3 Spiral Stakes. Now this race is an interesting puzzle as a Derby prep, because you're looking for a horse who can not only win on Turfway's poly track to punch his ticket moving forward, but also one who can transfer that form to dirt at Churchill Downs in 6 weeks. As we take a look at the last 10 winners of the Spiral and their sires, you'll see 2 in there by leading turf sire Kitten's Joy, who we'll talk about in a minute. Animal Kingdom, who went on to win the Derby, was by the star turf horse Leroy de Sanimo. Also in there, you'll see Artie Schiller, a good synthetic and turf sire, and some multi-purpose sires like Candy Ride, Giant's Causeway. So some clear patterns in that history that tell us a bit about what we're looking for here from a polytrack pedigree standpoint. I'm going to talk about a couple horses who have not raced on a synthetic surface before who have a chance in this race, starting with your likely favorite Kitten's Cat, who will watch winning the Kitten's Joy Stakes, the race named for his sire, dueling, getting it done by a head. He came back to run a good second in the Grade 3 Palm Beach to the very good turf colt Ticonderoga. He's only missed the board once in his career while making all of those prior starts on turf. We know the Kitten's Joys can transfer their form to polytrack with his prior Spiral winners, but not necessarily transferring that form to dirt. And Kitten's Cat, moreover, definitely vulnerable in a large field here with no true standout. So let's talk about another few horses I'm intrigued by. Blue Ridge Traveler very much liked his effort breaking his maiden at Oaklawn with a rallying effort. This was his 4th career start, most of those coming on dirt. Draw a line through his debut on the Churchill Downs turf when he was 5th. 5 horses failed to finish that race. He had to avoid fallen horses, just kind of a mess, not indicative of what he's going to do on this poly track or on turf at all, really. He's from the first crop of To Honor and Serve, out of a Yes It's True mare, good blend of speed and stamina on dirt. Very much intrigued by him moving forward into other 3-year-old events. But can he win on the poly track to punch his ticket? He does have a half-sibling who won on synthetic while really facing some decent company at Del Mar, so I think he's got a shot here. And lastly, Soglio, also trying synthetic for the first time after making all his prior starts on turf. He's by the multi-purpose sire Scat Daddy, the sort of stallion you want to look for when handicapping this race, as history shows us. He's from the female family of some very good turf runners like Spinning World, Danon, so no surprise that he's done well on turf. He's also got the dirt ability in there. He's out of a Seattle slew mare, and the extended female family has produced Rags to Riches, Jazzle, both winners of the Belmont Stakes. Another intriguing horse to keep an eye on this spring. Just some food for thought as you're handicapping the Spiral and evaluating form out of it. I'll see you this weekend up at Turfway alongside colleagues Marty McGee and Byron King. You can follow us on Twitter and, of course, on DRF Live. And for now, let's check in with Jonathan over at Kinchin's Corner.
Hey guys, welcome back to Kinchin's Corner. It's good news that you're back this week after the less than stellar performance last week. But you don't blame me. Blame it on Irad Ortiz and the ride on Terra Promesa. No, all jokes aside, it's the way that I play. You know, sometimes you'll take some big shots and you'll miss. And so this week we're going to play the pick 4 at Dubai, Meydan. Get up a little bit early, make yourself some coffee, some bacon and eggs, and get involved in this pick 4. It's always a great time of the year when you can wake up early in the morning and watch some top-class racing and watch one of the best horses in America and arguably the world. Starting with the pick 4, in the first leg, race 6 is the sprint. I'm just going to use 2 horses here as A horses. I'm going to use the Stall Walking Dude and the 14, Mind Your Biscuits. Those are my 2 A's. I'm going to use Cool Cowboy as a B. I feel like this race is going to fall apart. It's a big field. And we talk about all the time on the podcast when Bob Baffert ships his West Coast sprinters east, they usually do really well. Well, let's just take that a little bit further. We're going to take our American horses and ship them east. They're going to do a lot better over there than they do, than the Europeans and the horses from Europe and overseas. So I'm going to go on all American to start off with the A's here with Stall Walking Dude and Mind Your Biscuits. And they're going to get a great setup, quick pace in front of them. And the next leg, I don't have a terribly strong opinion here. I'm going to use the A. I'm using the 1 and the 2 as A horses, and I'm also going to use the 9, 12, and 13 as B horses. The angle I have here is pretty simple. When I was going through this race, I was looking for horses that were going to improve. And when you're looking for horses that you're going to improve, typically you can find horses that are getting a little bit older. So the 1 and the 2 are both 3-year-olds turning to 4-year-olds. The 9 is just a friend of mine, likes the horse as a long shot play, so I thought I'd throw that in there for you guys. And then the 12 and the 13, Deauville and Long Island Sound, horses that came over to North America last year to run in some of our 3-year-old stakes, turning 4-year-olds now. Aiden O'Brien will always get my attention. So no strong opinion there. I'm just going to try to leverage it a little bit with the 1 and the 2 as A horses with a little bit more money spent on them versus the Bs. So my strong opinions are going to be in the 8th and the 9th. If you look at the 8th race, I'm going to single Highland Rio is going to be my single A in this spot. I'm not going to use any B horses. If you watched last year's Shima Classic, I can't show it to you. It's just not going to fit in this time period. Watch how Highland Rio was ridden in that race. It was he kind of went to the lead, but then he allowed the other horses to kind of get back in the race, and then it was a sprint for home, and that's not his game. He's a galloping, classy horse, and if you look at this year's Breeders' Cup or the 2016 Breeders' Cup that we're going to play the tape of now, you'll get an example of that. Okay, I think they learned what they wanted to do with Highland Rio. They opened up that race with him, and they ran the other horses off their feet. He's back in training this year. And the other interesting point, if you look at, when you look back at what happened last year, the horse Postponed beat him. They're both coming off the exact same layoffs. 21 days for Postponed, 104 days for Highland Rio. I feel like they're going to tighten the screws a little bit more on Highland Rio this time around, and he'll turn the tables on him with a single there. And then the 9th is really no surprises for those that listen to the podcast. There's not a good piece of chalk that I've never eaten, and Arrogante's probably the best chalk in the world, and the best chalk we've seen in a long time. He's just better than these horses. He's faster than these horses, and unfortunately the tote board's going to know that. But I'm just single Arrogant here as a single A, but I am going to use at least $2 on Opportunity just in case something goes astray. I think Opportunity could pick up the pieces late. So in Bob Baffert we trust. I'll put on my silver wig. So if you take a look at the ticket, I got a $20 all A ticket, $4 A with 1 B, $2 A with 2 Bs, and that 50-cent saver with Opportunity in the last spot. $120 total. Good luck. Hope to see you guys back next week.
Welcome back to Out of the Gate, presented by Turfway Park. Sunday's DRF.com Formulator Race of the Day, another Kentucky Derby qualifying points race. It's the Sunland Derby at 1 1/8 miles. It features a full field. Get expanded race analysis and previews on video.drf.com. We talk about every horse in the race. Here on Out of the Gate, we want to give out winners, and we want to give them out fast. Todd Pletcher's been on fire, Matt. He's got another one in hedge fund?
He's got another one in hedge fund. We'll find out if he's quite as good as the other ones. He just broke his maiden most recently down at Gulfstream. But the odd thing is Pletcher's recent record at Sunland Park, not particularly strong. Maybe a guy named Baffert has something to do with that. But hedge fund goes over there. He's lightly raced. You look at his pedigree. Distance is supposed to be his friend. A little bit odd. Javier was on for each of the first 2 starts. He's on another horse in here. But you know what? You don't lose anything with Jose Ortiz getting aboard. Hedge fund, we'll find out. I think he can sit a little bit off of what should be a pretty honest pace.
He's going to get tested for class, but he's been bet both times like he's supposed to be a good horse. And with blinkers last time out at Gulfstream, Mike, he confirmed his favoritism with a really good performance and improved his Beyer speed figure. Matt mentioned there might be some pace in this race, and that helps your horse, the late-running, long-striding shareholder value.
Yeah, we'll see what this horse can do in this race. I do think you're right, though. I think the pace should be there for him, and that could benefit him and give him a better chance to win here. He picks up Castellano for this race, which doesn't help your price, but I think Castellano will do the right thing with this horse and maybe give him a real chance in here. He got bumped at the start last time and just outrun by a really fast pace in that risen start. I want to hold that race against him. I thought he ran deceptively well 2 starts back. I like all of his dirt form since Tom Amos switched him over to the main track, and I'm hoping he works out some kind of a trip here at a price. He's going to have to take a little step forward to win here. I'm hoping that he can do it on Sunday.
We can't not talk about the expected morning line favorite in this race. It's Bob Baffert's Bronze Age, and Baffert's trying to get back on the beam after Mastery unfortunately got hurt, after American Anthem threw out a dud last time out. This horse showed some ability last time out when stretched out. It's not going to be as easy from a pace standpoint, is it, Matt?
No, he's going to be very forwardly placed, and like you say, with the other speed signed on in here, the extra 1/8 of a mile he's going to have to deal with too. There's just a lot of things going on for a horse that's still relatively lightly raced that I don't particularly love. I think he's going to have to work a heck of a lot harder, and you can kind of poke some holes in that most recent start. Glacier came back. I know he won next up, but he won on turf. West Coast, if you gave him the extra 1/8 of a mile that this horse is going to have to go here today, I think West Coast beats Bronze Age that day. I think he's a nice horse, but I don't think he's some slam dunk.
Mike, what'd you think of Bronze Age's last race? I liked how he extended on the turn, but it looked like he was getting a little bit late. I kind of like that runner-up West Coast performance.
Yeah, I like that performance from the runner-up as well. I have no problem with the race that Bronze Age ran. I mean, he ran fine. He got loose on the lead in that race, though, and I don't know if that's going to happen here. And I don't think that they can really change his running style either, guys. I mean, he's got that very easy speed. He's a fast horse early. I don't think if somebody goes with him in here, I don't know if he's going to adapt too out of that.
I'm going with Kim Bear here at a little bit of a price. This horse has run on turf a few times, but his 2 dirt races are both very, very good. Second place finisher to Iliad, who's come back to do some very nice things at Los Alamitos. Then after a failed try on turf, solid enough maiden winner last time out, going 7 furlongs. I think he's going to work out a really nice trip from just off of the pace, and he is bred top and bottom to get this additional distance. Now it's time for our best plays of the weekend. Time for our best bets segment on Out of the Gate. Mike Beer, they finally drew the Gulfstream card. You've been waiting diligently overnight, and you like team colors in the feature.
Yeah, you want a simplified version of value in a horse race. It's a race with a vulnerable favorite. I think Zulu is a vulnerable favorite in the skipway. I don't think he wants to go this far. Team colors, third off the layoff, turf to dirt, wants every bit of the 9 furlongs. Ran really well in this race last year. I think he's set to go. I think he can beat the favorite.
Jimmy Jerkins has been sending out nothing but live horses in 2017, and Team Colors has shown a lot of ability, and this distance isn't going to be a problem. Let's go to the West Coast, Matt. Santa Anita.
Race 8 Saturday afternoon, Santa Anita Park. Curlin Road. This is a horse making his second start off the layoff. Second start for Ron Ellis. Most recent start, he was kind of hung out to dry and he didn't have a lot of pace to run at. The favorite in this race is going to be our old friend Aldrin. Any race where Aldrin is the favorite is a race that I'm going to try and take a shot against. I understand this is not the most prolific winner, Curlin Road. He's won for 18 lifetime, but there's much more pace signed on in this race. A mile on the main track. It seems like it's evened out a little bit where horses from off the pace actually have a legitimate chance. I think things set up much better for him this time around. I hate the morning line at 3-1. He's going to have to go north of there for me to play him, but I like Curlin Road.
My best bet of the weekend is race number 9 at Turfway Park, the Grade 3 Bourbonette Oaks for 3-year-old fillies. And I'm going to go with the number 3, Dark Wings over Dubai, a perfect 2 for 2 in Northern California over synthetic surfaces for trainer Jerry Hollendorfer. This filly was very visually impressive, scoring in a non-winners of one other than sprinting with an 85 Beyer speed figure. She just looped the field on the far turn and was on her way in the stretch. I'm not concerned about this additional distance. She's by Breeders' Cup Classic winner Ravens Pass, out of a full sister to Coaching Club American Oaks winner Funny Moon. Distance isn't going to be a problem for Dark Winds over Dubai. She's certainly well connected. Jerry Hollendorfer's been shipping horses to the East Coast, winning major 3-year-old filly races. Tap It All comes to mind. mind at Oaklawn Park recently. Dark Winds over Dubai 7-2 on the morning line. I'll try to beat some of the shorter priced horses in the race. The 5 China Grove, not sure Synthetic is what she wants. The 6 Delphinia, not sure Distance is what she wants. I think Dark Winds over Dubai is going to check all the boxes. Again, 7-2 seems like a fair price. First of all, I'd like to thank Turfway Park for their sponsorship this week. I'd like to thank you for watching. That's it for this week. We'll see you next week. Best of luck when your horses break out of the gate.